My final question, and probably the most important question to me, is that as a parent, I think it's very confusing right now to navigate through our medical system and know what is right and what is wrong, whether it's on vaccines or how to treat our children or what to expect from medicine these days. I think many parents are just in a scramble because of the mistrust that has been created over the lockdowns and COVID. What advice can you give somebody like me on how to think through America's medicine right now?
Yeah, I mean, this is the tough part because it is appropriate that we have lost trust because that loss of trust was caused by the entities we were supposed to trust, including doctors and hospitals. There's a plummeting of trust even in your own doctor these days, as well as in science itself. So, it's a challenge. I think it's worst probably right now because everything's in a state of flux and we need to set a new equilibrium. And the equilibrium that needs to be set is one based on transparency, admission of error, and some accountability. And I think these are things that the incoming HHS folks will hopefully be able to do, and that is to make a more open process of, for instance, the FDA, CDC, NIH meetings. These people work for us. We should see what they're saying. These things should be posted immediately. We need term limits on the people in the public health agencies because this idea that you can be there for decades and accrue a massive amount of power and during that process have these perverse incentives to cover your own career. You make friends in the media and in other agencies. That's bad for the public. That does harm. We need to have a different process in the scientific journals. We need to have some accountability for the funding. I mean, this is an idea I have put forth and I've heard Jay also say, which is that, we have 15 plus academic medical centers, universities that get over $500 million per year in NIH funding. They need to ensure that they're doing, free speech, free scientific debate. The essence of science and research is the scientific debate. And if they're thwarting that with faculty censures, for instance, why would they be entitled to U.S. taxpayer money at the tune of $500, $600, $700 million a year every year? Also IRB research. I mean, some of our most famous medical centers did the research sponsored by Pfizer, injecting young children, infants and toddlers with the COVID vaccines, experimental drugs, for which healthy young children don't have a significant benefit from. I mean, I think that that raises ethical questions. And now, as you know, in a university where you're doing funded research, there's an IRB, an institutional review board, and there's always an ethics person there. Where were these people? I think there's serious ethical questions that were raised. So, this needs to be revisited. And when you do revisit these things and then publicize things, or another one is break the revolving door between the directors of HHS, FDA, NIH, CDC, and the private companies that they regulate. They get royalties, but also they go out and are on the boards immediately of the companies that they regulated. Okay, that's unethical. We need to have some sort of at least a delay. Say, I've proposed a 5-year delay from when you can work in government and then go work as an employee or on the board of the companies in the health sector. Okay, we need to restore trust. That's the point of your question. And I think a lot of there's no magic bullet to that, by the way, because it's very damaged. And again, like I say, rightfully so. So we need to do a lot of things to gradually repair that relationship, because the reality is that regular people don't have the time or really the means to sit there and read and critique all of the scientific studies and the fundamental research, et cetera. That's unreasonable. So that's really not what we mean by gathering information. But what we mean by gathering information is talking to a lot of people, but in other experts and dissenting views and listening to both sides. But ultimately, it's a free country.